Okay, the best advice, some of the best advice I ever got was, I had a coach one time when I was in college. He's like, the problem with you, Perler, is you'll wrestle anybody from any position. And I said, great, because I want to be dangerous. And that's what my brother and I always talked about years ago, was being dangerous. And I just said, from any position on the mat, I can score. You underhook me, I can score. I underhook you, I can score. I collar tie, I can score. You collar tie, I can score. And we had all of our wrestling techniques written on pieces of paper, and we drill them. And I would study them, and I get so excited when I hit the 100 mark or whatever, all the little tricks and stuff I knew. But this guy said, he goes, the problem is though, is you're going to get somebody, you're going to find somebody in the nation or in the world when you wrestle overseas, they're going to underhook for a living. Because some countries, this is how they support their family, and you give the wrong guy an underhook, you're not going to win. And he goes, you wrestling will not progress until you start to specialize a little bit. And he says, when I watch you wrestle 10 matches, all of your 10 matches should look somewhat the same. And he goes, now you're probably going to be a little more predictable, but you're also going to have some weapons, because you cannot master and become the best in the world at every position. You can't do it. You have to specialize. And that really sunk in, and it was really good advice. I started to simplify my wrestling, and you learn to avoid positions. I no longer wrestled in over-under, even though I was really good there. This guy said, even if you're one of the best in that position, there's still a 20-30% chance you might lose it. Those are odds we don't play. He's like, you got to play the percentages. Is something he always talked about in the wrestling room, is playing the percentages. And if you watch Jordan Burroughs, he avoids wrestling in an ear-to-ear collar tie. He avoids a collar tie. Kyle Snyder collar ties. He's an Olympic champion too. So, he might avoid wrestling from the outside. So avoiding wrestling in the positions you're not good at. And I told my guys this: you get your technique notebook, and when you see underhook, you take that piece of paper and you rip it out and you throw it in the trash. Now, really, you're going to drill some from there on occasion, and you're going to drill how to get out of underhook. So, that's kind of an exaggeration. But really, your wrestling should get smaller, and you should start to specialize a little bit. And what happens is, when you watch the college guys, they'll always say before the national tournament and the finals, they'll ask them about the match, and they always say, I'm going to stay in my positions where I'm good. That's all I can do. And they're right. If you're a leg rider, you have to get your legs in. If you're not a leg rider, then you don't want to get your legs in. Now, you drill leg riding some, and you have the foundation always has to be firm and steady. So you always want to drill a big bulk of wrestling, just so that you're familiar, and you're well skilled in all the positions. And usually that's not a problem, And this was advice for the more advanced kids. I would say the high school kids who have wrestled 8-9 years, who've had great coaching, who've been to the best camps, who wrestle year round, who have a big, strong foundation. Because until you have a big, strong foundation and 500 matches under your belt, you really don't know what you like and don't like. So, as this is more for the top of the pyramid guys who are trying to get to the top, your wrestling should get more specialized. But that's good advice I got from a guy who went on to be the head coach of Team USA for about 10 years. So he was a good coach and knew what he was talking about, and it's kind of advice contrary to what a lot of us have learned over the years. But when you sit and watch the top college guys and the international guys, you'll notice that they do specialize in their certain positions, and they do have weapons. So that's something we preach a lot in our practices, developing weapons, and that's good advice for all of us. Hit the subscribe button. Check us out at perlerwrestling.com. We have a lot more options. We'd love to have you come train with us.